Welcome back to Panorama News. In our other headlines, wildfire season is coming up, and with the dry weather, the Forest Service is preparing for the worst. In addition, however, Portland City Fire Departments are also preparing for the fight. Panorama's senior correspondent, Philip Carter, has more.
Most Americans are familiar with the Smokey Bear ads. A simple flame, discarded ashes, or a single spark can ravage entire forest ranges.
Only you.
However, wildfires continue to wreck the countryside and now encroach on man-made structures and properties. Every summer, almost $2.5 billion in property damage are racked up on just the West Coast alone. More and more forest fires are burning right up to our city limits. Last year, the small town of Unity watched as one of these wildfires began bearing down onto the resident streets.
We kept getting warnings that the fire was getting closer, but it was really scary to see the actual flames coming down the mountain. Like, forest fires happen here all the time, but it was really scary to see it up close, coming down our street. That's just like, wow.
Thankfully, the fire was beaten back and the residents were spared. However, both the Forest Service and the Bureau of Land Management, or BLM, cannot contain these roaring infernos. So, who's going to step up and join this fight? The City of Portland's Fire and Rescue has begun preparing and training to combat wildland fires. In a program coordinated with the state of Oregon, fire departments primarily set up to fight city structure fires will be traveling outside their zones to participate in forest operations. This program, dubbed the Tap Out, will pack equipment and personnel to smaller towns under threat of wildfire damage. Firefighter Lieutenant Meyer Searsman, in his 10th year of service, will be one of those responding this summer, and he is optimistic with the program.
This gives us an opportunity to fight an entirely different kind of fire. Most of our calls are based off of suppression, which is basically extinguishing the entire fire. However, forest fires are a different beast. It's not just about letting it die out naturally, but also getting people to safety.
The operation will be overseen by a combination of government agencies, including the State Fire Marshal, the State Parks and Recreation Department, and the National Forest Service, who will be playing a key role in deciding when a wildfire needs city departments.
We're only looking at implementing this program for fires that are a danger to nearby cities. Okay, the Forest Service will take full responsibility for fires outside those parameters.
Nelson Maddox will be one of the many overseers from the Forest Service, tasked with directing the fire departments to the right places at the right times.
It'll help. It'll definitely help. Back in the day, our last resort option was to call in the National Guard. However, these men and women are highly trained and well prepared for fire suppression, and they'll be able to respond faster in an emergency.
In addition to saving property, the government hopes to save money with the Tap Out program. Forest fires are consuming more acreage, from around 2 million in the 1980s to 10 million last year. With that comes the increased cost of fighting said fires, calling on local, state, and federal agencies. On wildfires requiring a National Guard call-up, a fire can cost almost $300 million, with a grand total of almost $10 billion spent countrywide. With the Tap Out program, equipment and personnel will be at the ready at the fraction of the cost. And combined with the reduction in property damage, many are eager to get these firehouse heroes out to the fight. None are more enthusiastic about gearing up than the firefighters themselves.
It's going to be a challenge, but that's what we're all about. I personally joined the program because it's our job to protect people, to run in when others are heading out. And that's what's going on in these places. So, I put on my turnout gear, and I head in.
Training for the program is still ongoing and available for all city firefighters through the first week of June, when wildfire season heats up. I'm Philip Carter, Panorama News.
The new program has already been given a test run last year when fire departments out of Marion County from Salem battled blazes almost 300 miles away in Baker County with large successes across the board. However, there have been concerns about stretching resources too thin, and many are worried that using city fire departments will result in the federal mismanagement of all of these departments. One of the individuals responsible for the management of this program, and responsible for answering these concerns, is Lindsay O'Connor from the Oregon Department of Safety. Lindsay O'Connor sits on the State Committee for Fire Program Review and has agreed to come and speak with us today. Ms. O'Connor, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here.
Ms. O'Connor, could you please explain to us what the goal of this program is? Now, we've all heard about how sending these men, women, equipment, etc. will help save properties and possibly save the state money. But how is this going to play out in the long term? Are we looking at replacing the role of the Forest Service, or is this just a temporary fix?
What we are focusing on is strictly a response program to fight wildfires that encroach on urban and suburban developments. The Forest Service and BLM are great at containing and controlling these fires, but with more and more development in forested areas as well as drier climates, they are unprepared for the suppression that is needed for the blazes we are seeing. We are in no way trying to take the role of the Forest Service or the regular hotshot crews, but when the city's firefighters are needed, we want them to be available.
I think that anyone who has property or belongings of their own would want any department to come and fight back these forest fires to protect their valuables. However, some citizens have valid concerns that polling Portland's fire departments for direction by state and federal government is a dangerous precedent to set. Could this be considered federalizing these local agencies?
No, we really cannot say that. The departments that are taking part in this program are purely volunteering their services, and they will only be pulled in emergencies. There are many other factors that determine how many firefighter crews or trucks are needed, such as how busy a particular district is. It would not make sense to pull away a crew from citizens in need, so we're going to carefully manage our teams to ensure that we get the best of both worlds.
Is there a reason more local agencies cannot take on this responsibility? Wouldn't it make sense to combine forces with local rural fire departments in regional areas rather than send departments from almost 300 miles away to fight these fires?
Well, certainly, but you have to remember that a lot of these departments are very small and may not have the equipment, personnel, or experience to tackle some of the blazes we are seeing. Larger cities such as Portland have high-end equipment and resources that, through this program, can temporarily be lent to these small towns and communities.
All right, we have a statement that was put out by the U.S. Department of Forestry in participation with the EPA that reads, "With the increase in climate temperatures, droughts, and abnormal weather patterns expected in the next 20 years, the United States should expect to be fighting more and larger wildfire campaigns, increasing from 10 million burnt acres to over 25 million by 2035. Does this sound correct?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so would this indicate an increase in the amount of call-ups we can expect from city fire departments? Would more departments be involved each summer in the future, and this become a regular operation?
Well, that's really unclear at this time. We expect this program to be successful, but we are still primarily going to rely on the Forest Service and the BLM to take out the initial attack. The tap-out program will only be used as reinforcement. We also still have the National Guard available for call-up, so a really large forest fire will not capture the attention of our city resources. At this time, we wish to keep this program limited to departments that volunteer to participate and ensure that all agencies involved get the full support that they need.
Okay, Lindsay O'Connor with the Oregon Department of Safety. Thank you for speaking with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, when we return, new research released from OHSU shows connections between certain common drugs and Alzheimer's disease. Investigate this story here with us on Panorama News. Don't go away.